All right, what's up, everyone? Hi, Danielle. How you doing?
Hello. Great. How are you, Anthony?
Awesome, awesome. So I'm Anthony Mattis, and we're having conversations about the magic of bodies. And you may have seen the last two that I did with Andrew Gardella and Cass Thomas. And I want to talk to Danielle about all the amazing, yummy stuff she does with bodies. And she's written a book called Right Body for You. And she's also I guess, the overseer of the Right Body for You, facilitator training. I don't know if I'm saying it all correctly, but can you talk a little bit about just give us your background, how long you've been doing Access, um, what is right body for you? I know the words speak for themselves, and yeah,
Okay.
tell us more about it.
Um, yeah, actually it's interesting. In about a week and a half, it'll be 11 years doing access consciousness,
Whoa.
which which just blows my mind. I'm like, really? Where did time isn't real and wow.
Yeah,
11 years.
so cool.
Um, yeah, and and it's interesting because it's like right now I have several hats within access.
Mm-hmm.
And all of them have to do with bodies, which
Cool.
is actually hilarious given my past, which you asked about. Because my mom was a nutritionist
Uh-huh.
and she did a health talk radio show for 27 years.
Whoa.
And yeah, and at the end of the day, I hated having a body. So it's like I spent every Saturday
No way.
from the age of 12 on helping my mother with this radio show. Um, and she interviewed either 1 to 3 people. Sometimes she had an hour show, sometimes she had a 3 hour show. And I saw all these amazing people come through of helping people with their bodies. It's like you name it. I know somebody in that field. I almost married a homeopathist, right? We have master herbalists and DOs and DCs and just, you
No way.
the
So what did
spectrum,
that
right?
create for you growing up?
A hatred of my body.
Whoa.
It
How
was
come?
it was I don't know. I don't know what it was that moment that I was like, oh my gosh, a body is a bad thing to have.
Mm,
Or the weak spot or the thing that's keeping me back. Um, I don't know if
wow.
it was my religious upbringing that was told
Mm,
that, you come here on earth to have a body and you're literally, they called it the trials and tribulations to earn your
oh,
way into heaven. And so I don't know what it was, or like there
yeah.
isn't like one thing that I could say is like this is what made me hate bodies, but I
Yeah.
hated that I fact I had a body. I only valued my mind. And it's like I saw Sabrina the Teenage Witch because I
Yeah.
I went into marketing promotions, right, as a promotion manager for a TV station.
Okay.
And we used to promote Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and there was this episode where it was just a brain in a jar, but it could still communicate. It could still
Yeah.
communicate and everything. And I'm like, that would be amazing. No red flags there, right?
Oh gosh. That's funny. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
and so it was really interesting. And then through a series of those conscious coincidences that are just,
Yeah.
creation with the universe, um, my mom had on her radio show a gentleman you may have heard of, Dr. Dane here.
Yeah.
And
Oh, okay. No
and
kidding. That's
yeah,
funny.
it was really interesting. It was, because I had seen everything come through
Yeah.
from traditional medicine to alternative medicine to sitting under a homemade metal pyramid on top of a chair that's sitting on top of a crystal. I
Yeah.
wish I could say I was joking or it was somebody else's story. No,
Yeah.
this is just one of the many things that my mother had me do because she was always a seeker, right?
Okay.
Which is
Yeah.
how she got into that. She was always a seeker.
Yeah.
We'd go out into the desert and do weird stuff and just whatever. Like I have seen so much. It's funny. Um, and so it was interesting because Dane was on the radio show just an
Yeah.
hour. And I was like, I don't know what this stuff is,
Yeah.
but it's different. Now, at that point, I'd spent, I don't know, 20 years or something um, learning about bodies,
Mm.
learning about alternative stuff. My mom also had a show with a psychic, as so it's like the spectrum, right?
Yeah.
But when Dane started talking about access and energy, I kind of went, huh. Oh, and I should mention, I was resistant to everything my mother did.
Okay, cool.
It wasn't like I went jollily along going, okay, Mom, let's do this. I was like,
Yeah,
ah.
yeah, yeah. I have a teenager that like that.
Right? And I wish I could say my entrance into access was joyfully as well. But the first time I had my bars run, I hated it.
Mm.
You know, some people go,
How come?
oh,
Tell me why. Like, what did
it,
you hate about it?
it was just, it was, it was funny because I know so many people are like, the first time I had my bars run, I just loved it. And I was like, ugh. For one thing, I didn't know we were doing it.
Yeah.
And my mom's like, oh, these people are going to run their bars in exchange for being on the radio show. I'm like, now what crap have you gotten us into, Mom? Literally, this is my comment, right? And so we stopped off. You'll love this. We were actually taking our brand new kittens into the vet to get fixed, and we stopped on the way back to get our bars run. I'm like, lovely. And so they're like, oh, it takes about an hour. But it was interesting because the very first time the guy who was presenting the bars to us said, it's like defragging the hard drive of your brain.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it was the first thing that sparked my interest because I was always like, if I can input the right computer program into me, I won't be screwed up. I can actually function well. And so when he's like, it's like defragging your hard drive, I'm like, oh, I can understand this. I mean, I was still looking for the right program.
Exactly. Right. Right.
But it was the first thing that made me go, huh. But he goes, it takes about an hour. And I'm like, okay. So he started on my mom's bars.
Right.
His wife started on my bars 30 minutes later.
Okay.
And so I counted every minute. I'm like, every minute my mother's on the table, I'm not even halfway done. I was tapping my fingers. I was frustrated. I was resistant. I was annoyed. I was just like, oh, what a waste of time. I can't believe it. I could be reading. I could be watching a TV show. You know, that's something really other, you know, but I was just like, I could be doing anything but this. And, but once I got my bars run, I was like, I had to acknowledge, I immediately noticed my intuitive ability kicked up. Like I was sitting at my desk and I was like, oh, I should get those papers ready for that woman. And so I stopped what I was doing and I got it together. And the second I got it done, she rang the bell. I'm like, huh. And so it's like 3 things like that happened in one day. And I went,
wow,
that's not just a coincidence.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so Dane was on the show that was on Friday. Dane was on the show Saturday. And I was like, yeah, I want to learn more about this.
Yeah.
And which my mother just was like, excuse me, my daughter who doesn't want to learn anything wants to learn more about this. So 2 weeks later, just 2 weeks later, Dane was in St. George, Utah.
Wow.
Facilitating a foundation class.
No kidding. That's so cool.
Yeah. Which I still think is one of my most brilliant creations because I was so ornery, so resistant. I don't know who else I would have listened to if Dane hadn't been my first facilitator.
Yeah. Wow. That's funny too, because I was very ornery and resistant too by the time I started as well. And it was like, but whatever, for some reason, something kept like pulling me toward it. And so I find that really interesting. You know, playing sports growing up and you know, and then being a chiropractor, obviously bodies was such a focal point. And it wasn't until like everybody started going through puberty and I was sort of like a late bloomer and I was always the smaller guy anyway, plus the late bloomer. Everyone's developing all these man bodies. And not only was I like small, I was like, oh my God, I'm still a boy and they have man bodies. I'm like, what the hell? So a lot of judgment started showing up in my world in regards to bodies. And in being an athlete, it's like being the right size, the right strength, the right this, the right that. And then going to school for like exercise physiology, it's all about all the rights and wrongs about what to put into your body, what not to put into your body, how long you're supposed to exercise, how long you're not supposed to exercise. And I'm like, and then all the way through chiropractic school. And I'm like, man, when I finally got to access and we learned about 10-second increments, I'm like, you know, if I had 10 seconds to live the rest of my life, what do I choose? I'm like, you know what? I would like to get a cup of coffee, eat bacon, like old school bacon, not turkey bacon, but old school bacon with a bagel and cream cheese with lots of saturated fat. And I had so much fun doing it, and I didn't judge any of it. I didn't care. It was like, oh my God. And then when I looked at the facts, it's like people who eat terrible and don't exercise, a lot of them live to like 88 years old and smoke. And the ones that take care of themselves drop dead. So if eating well was totally true and correct, then it would be true and correct all the time. And it's not.
Yeah.
You know, and I know at the end of the day, it's about finding what's right for you and your body, what works and makes you happy, blah, 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 blah. But it's like, just became a battle and a struggle. I had to judge every time I ate something.
Oh my gosh, yes. You know, it's like, so imagine having that from the age of 12, right?
Yeah, no, I can't imagine.
And it was so interesting because when Dane was on the radio show, actually, sorry, he didn't say this on the radio show. He said it at the first class I took 2 weeks later. He went, so what if your body has a consciousness of its own? Would you be willing to ask it for everything that pertains to it? And I went, excuse me? For the past 20 years, I've learned how to tell everything that's wrong with the body. I've learned how to dominate it into submission. I've learned how if you don't keep this fine line balance, one day your body will kill you. And it's like, I've learned everything about what's wrong with bodies and how we're supposed to, you know, like how we have to force it. And just, I'm like, what do you mean ask it? What the freak are you talking about? And, you know, and part of me hating my body is I gained a lot of weight, right? A lot of weight. And I'm 5'2" on a good day. And so a lot of weight. I was like almost as wide as I was tall. And it blew my mind because 20 years of radio shows, like I haven't counted, but it's like 1 to 3 hours every Saturday, 4 Saturdays a month average. That's a lot of people coming through. Never once had I ever heard anybody say, ask the body, because what if the body has a conscience of its own? And I was like, I'd never heard that. And let me say, there was a lot of great people creating a lot of good for people. That's not what I'm saying. That it was all bad. Absolutely not. But it was such a rigid telling the body what to do. When it was the first ask your body, I was like,
that's awesome.
Well, and it expanded my universe. Now I know what that lightness was. But the second I heard that, I was like, what? You know, like one of those little meerkats. What?
Like, I mean, even in the so-called natural alternatives, there's like a formula, there's like a linear system to follow. And it's always about, okay, well, according to this particular modality, X, Y, and Z is the cause, and then therefore this is how you treat it. And that sounded almost just as allopathic or medically minded or mechanistic is traditional medicine. And it's it was weird. And I got fed up with just chiropractic and the whole holistic alternative world, because it was like, and then if somebody didn't fit the formula, then you're screwed. But you know, you can help them.
Almost as rigid and judgmental.
So it's like, oh my God. And then it's like, and then not that this the profession of chiropractic, because those people get great results for a lot of people.
Oh, absolutely.
And stuff like that. But in some instances, it like almost became like a religion too. It was like, you know, removing the vertebral subluxation, you know, if you remove interference in the body because of a misalignment in the spinal column, then it should heal everything. Well, it wasn't healing everything. And I'm like, what the fuck, you know? So, and it's like, and if you don't believe, it's almost like you are an outcast. And it was just crazy, but there was just so much judgment in all of it. In all of it. And that's what I love about Access, but it's really about accessing your own consciousness and your own body awareness. And it's really cool. So how did Right Body for you come about? Like, how did that get birthed into existence?
Actually, it's very interesting. And Right Body for You is actually probably the oldest specialty class of Access Consciousness.
No way.
It existed before I came on the scene.
It did? Cool.
It had already been a specialty class for like a couple of years at that point.
Okay.
And the person who was in charge of it then, it just wasn't jiving. And so when I first came in and I started asking questions of my body, body, what do you want to eat? Body, what do you want to wear? Very simple, 2 things, right? I'd only had foundation at that point. Within 4 months, I dropped 10 dress sizes just from those few questions and foundation tools.
Wow.
Right? And so as any, humanoid. 4 months later, I was at my first certified facilitator class because apparently that's what you do. And
but did you change anything when you asked the questions? Did you actually change in any, like when you asked body, what do you want to eat, or what do you want to wear, or how do you want to dress? Like, did you change the choices you used to make, or?
Actually, no.
Cool.
You look at it, the thing that I changed was incorporating my body into the equation. And here's the thing, it's like, as people are listening, not everything you did before you had these questions was wrong or from complete unawareness. Because it's like, I knew my body, I knew me. I'm like, I love Asian food. Give me rice, vegetables, and meat and a sauce, and I'm a happy girl.
Yeah.
Well, once I started asking my body, what do you like to eat? It preferred rice over pasta or wheat-based things. And so it's like, it didn't change, but the awareness and the working with the body and the judgments went away.
Oh, cool.
And so that's what created the shift and change, was actually working with
the body more. You included your body more in the whole thing. Interesting.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, one of the biggest changes I made was I asked my body if it wanted coffee. I added coffee in because it liked coffee. Because I was raised Mormon, it was like no coffee.
Oh, really? Okay.
But I would go down the coffee aisle at the grocery store and go, oh my gosh, that smells so good. And so once I started asking my body things, I'm like, body, do you want some coffee? And it was like, yes. I'm like, oh, okay. Great. Go to Starbucks,
Yeah.
I just loved it. And so, it's like some days I ate more, some days I ate less. But really, I look at that and it's like, it's not about what you eat. Yeah. It's about the judgment about it. And so that's what was really neat, is it's like I ate Doritos, I ate M&Ms, I ate Coke, I ate, and I still have pasta when my body asks for it. My mom and everybody else diagnosed me with celiac disease because my body preferred rice over wheat. Once I added the question to that, it wasn't because of an allergy, it was because of a preference.
Got it.
So it was really,
I like that.
Yeah, it was really amazing. And so in my first certified facilitator class, that was the year Gary Douglas, founder of Access, went, okay, so I'm going to create these rights. We're going to do right voice, right recovery, right riches, right. I forget.
Right voice?
There's five
right
rights.
Voice?
Yeah. Right voice, right recovery, right riches, right body, right.
I don't remember.
I can't remember. I'm sorry. Whichever one that is. And he created all of these facilitator programs.
Right relationship? Is there a right relationship?
That was it, right relationship. So he created these 5 right classes, which right body had already existed. So he patterned it after.
Got it.
And he's like, so are you going to do right body? I'm like, yes. He goes, okay, good. He goes, we're going to use your story in the book and all this. I'm like, okay, great. That'll be fun. And so, I got to be a part of the book and go forth there. And I've actually spent the past 10 years developing the workshop too. And so it's been a lot of fun to take the seeds and grow it into what it is now. And there's other workshop facilitators and all that kind of stuff over the world, helping people to, and it was so funny. Oh, and sorry, I used to be like painfully shy and not talk at all. And now I don't shut up. So let me know if I
find that hard to believe. That's awesome.
I know, like that's literally, awesome. It was so funny. Because I
never met you before. I only met you like after,
I know. Whenever I tell people I used to be shy, they're like, bullshit. I'm like, no, really. I mean, it was like flop sweats. Like in the movies when people have to stand up in front of a crowd and they just sweat and they get the...
I still do. I still do. Yeah.
It was, I and I was head of marketing and promotions for a TV station. It was part of my job to stand in front of crowds. Not my brightest moment. But anyways, I got over that once I got into the tools of Access and Right Body for You. But I used to have a problem with the name Right Body for You.
Oh yeah?
I begged Gary for the first 2 years. I'm like, can't we change the name? It's not that popular yet. Isn't right a judgment? Aren't we not supposed to be judging our bodies? Can't we change the name? Yeah. And if anybody's tried to have a conversation like that of like, please, please, please with Gary, it's a very interesting occurrence because to me, I kind of felt like a little chihuahua jumping up and down around him going, please, 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 can we do this, please, please, please?
Yeah.
And he looked at me and he's like, nope. I'm like, well, why not? He's like, because. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
And as you know, those are all the answers you get from this man, right? Because, no. And I'm like, but right, buddy, for you, I have a hard time promoting this because, you know, we're not supposed to judge. And so, you know, people, and I'm like, I'm leading them down the wrong path. And then one brilliant thing about Gary is he lets you come to the awareness of your own, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because then it's yours forever. And one day I went, oh my gosh, that's one of the most brilliant manipulations Gary Douglas has ever done. Because what are people looking for in this world? They're looking for the one right body.
Right. Right.
And, you know, so it's like, it's an invitation to people who are looking for something.
Right.
And then it's like, well, guess what? You have the right body. You have the right body for you. That's what the title is. You have the right body for you. No matter what size, shape, health level, color, you have the right body for you. You created it. And once you embrace that and like stop judging it and work with your body, it's amazing because bodies are beyond what you want to eat, what you want to wear, and what you want to shag. So many people just focus on those three things, and those are a lot of like the introductions. But your body is one of the greatest tools of awareness and consciousness if you would allow it to contribute to you. So it's awesome.
Yeah, and speaking of that, you know, you're also a 30-day body facilitator for Access Consciousness. And I just recently became one, and it's really cool because we talk about, and in those classes, we try to teach people, we let them know that the body is a sensate sensorial organism, and it's giving us information all the time. And so can you talk a little bit like more about like that, and then like maybe some of the things that you've seen, not just for you in your life, but like in facilitating the classes, the 3-day body classes and Right Body for You, what kind of things have you seen change in other people's lives?
Oh my gosh. From physical things to healing diseases, getting rid of pain, losing weight, gaining weight, depending on, you know, where you are desiring to create. So I have numerous stories with that kind of stuff, but it's also the ones I also find fascinating are the ones where their psychic ability increases, or they use their body in business. They use their body in making money. And I don't mean like line work or prostitution, using your body to make money, which I know those folks do. It's all good. But just, you know, allowing your body to contribute to different areas that you don't even think. Yeah. Because it's like, how much of our finances go over to the care, feeding, and nurturing of our bodies? Like 99% of it. So you think your body doesn't want to contribute to the creation of that kind of stuff? Heck yeah, it does. And so I've seen people's finances change. I've seen people's awareness change. And because as you said, our body's giving us information about everything. It's about giving it about you, your body, other people, the infinite being, other people's bodies, the earth, energies everywhere. And so for me, it's like almost like antenna. It's like, oh, danger's near, change streets. Or, you know, literally like walking around different places. And like sometimes I'm lost in an airport where I don't know the language. And I'm like, okay, body, which direction to go? And it's like that way. The gate's that way. I'm like, okay. And so it's really amazing the gift that your body can be and the contribution it is beyond what it wants to eat, shag, or wear. And so many people just focus on those three things. Exactly.
Yeah, that's what, you know, in working with the processes, all the different processes, and watching them, how they create the space to not only help things with the body, but all those other areas that you talked about, as far as their awareness, knowing what street to turn down, you know, the willingness to actually receive everything without a judgment or a point of view about it. So it's just really cool, the space that these processes and these tools are able to create for us and our bodies.
And you know what, for me, one of the favorite things that both the 3-day body class and the Right Body for You workshops is helps me and countless other people with is generative touch.
Mm. Say more.
You know, there is such a, bless you,
Thanks.
there is such a, bodies like to be touched. There
Mm-hmm.
is an exchange of energy when one body touches another. You know, it's like it starts with a parent, whether they birth the child or not, holding a child when they're sick or whatnot. And it's like, um, studies, literally scientific studies have shown that there is a healing touch in that communion and that connection. And it's like,
Yeah.
why would that stop when it's just a baby? And, you know, and the 3D body classes are all hands-on body process. And, you know, Right Body for You has, I put 2 in the workshop because I'm a fan.
Yeah.
And so for me, you know, it's like, I would have said I came from a touchy-feely family. We hugged and we did the tap on the shoulder, you know, arm around the shoulder,
Yeah.
you know, that kind of thing. But it was had so much barriers, had so much judgment of what was acceptable touch energetically. I'm not talking about like touching genitals, but just like,
Right.
like I can share this much energy because
Yeah.
you're my family, so I have to be this barriered, or
Right.
it's just, there were so many barriers, so many judgments, so many projections, that it wasn't until my first access classes and my first body classes, and somebody would run a body process or somebody would hug me, I didn't realize how starving, literally starving to death my body was for touch, for generative touch. And I'm not talking about sex.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about that connection and the energetic exchange, that when one body touches another body with no judgment, with no point of view, with no barriers, it's absolutely, it's one of the most nurturing things that I've ever given my body, was touching and being touched.
Yeah, me too. It's like,
in that way.
when I finally was willing to let go and I stopped resisting access, I would, and when I would receive the body process, no matter who it was from, I could literally perceive my whole body sort of sinking into the table.
Yeah.
And not disappearing, but it was like what was actually disappearing was just all the heaviness in my world and my reality. And it was like, oh my God, it was like almost going into that deep stage of sleep. You know what I mean? Where you're like totally gone, but everything is so like, everything's like just, you could perceive everything restoring itself.
Yeah.
And recuperating and rebuilding in a way and rearranging just to make you stronger. And it was just, I was like, oh my God. And like, you know, it was like my first wife just committed suicide. I was raising the kids by myself. And it was like, man, if nothing else changes, I'm going to keep coming back just for these body processes and the bars, because of the ease it creates for my brain and the ease that it was actually creating for my body in that generative, you know, nurturing way that you're talking about. And it was really, really cool to be able to let go into that and receive that. It was amazing.
Yeah. And you know, have my body allow my body, I should say, because the body is all for it, but we're the infinite beings is not always cute, or not always bright. But allowing my body to have that energy of being alive, that a lot of people misidentify as turned on, so I must shag something.
Yes.
And it's like, it's not. It's actually about being alive.
Exactly.
And having that energy. And you know, that's why I love the first position of the bars, is pulling energy. And it's like, people are like, why do we do that? I'm like, well, how many people allow that much energy into their life and their body? Like basically just enough to keep moving and not moving well.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's amazing.
What about like how would you, like, you know, like people, like bodies like to be touched, but it's like there's lots of people out there who've been abused, right? And so, you know, it's like, you know, like my mom's an example. It's like, even as a chiropractor, she only wanted me to like work on her from the neck up. She didn't want me to touch any other part of her body. And because, you know, she was abused and, you know, touched inappropriately and all that kind of stuff. And so, and like, it's like, and I know we have an amazing body process called the abuse hold, right? And in doing that with people, you can perceive the abuse literally leave their bodies, and it's really quite amazing. But it's like people hearing this though for the first time who have been abused and all that, like what would you say to them, or how would you invite them, like where like right now they don't want anybody to touch them, like what do you say to those people?
Oh my gosh, so many different things. First off, I always invite people to the gratitude for their body. And what I mean by that is, it's like, I know I've worked with a lot of people who have been abused sexually, physically, emotionally. And the number of times I have seen people who were abused, infinite being wise, go away, but then their body stays and receives it for them. It's almost as like if the body goes, hey, you know what? I got this. You can go over there and I'll take the abuse. And then when you come, you know, when you come back, we'll chat or, you know, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, could you be grateful for your body willing to do that for you, to be there, to comfort you? It almost, you know, it's like, so I invite them to be like grateful that your body endured that for you. And
That's
that
fantastic.
you're here, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, makes me want to cry tapping into all those people.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's like, your body has your back. No pun intended, but pun intended.
Yeah.
Your body has your back. And so it's like, when people have been abused, that's one of the first things I invite them to is, and it starts to help them look at their body a different way as somebody who's something that's working with them instead of just something else against them.
Right.
And then I would help them with really looking at like a victim status type thing. And it's like, yes, I'm saying shitty things can happen. I'm not saying that it's okay. But what if somebody can only victimize you if you go, you know what? I'm a victim because of what you did to me. And it's like, it's a whole big conversation, as we know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's like, you know what? You can go beyond the victim of like, yeah, this shitty thing happened to me, but I'm not going to let it control me.
Right.
I'm going to be this, and then I'm going to choose my life. I'm going to choose me. I'm going to choose strength, or, you know, whatever it is for them, because it's individual.
Right.
What comes out the other side. And then it's also some of that, well, what's right about this? Because the number of people I've worked with who have changed people's destinies and futures, not just the abuser, but also other people that the person would have abused, is countless.
Yeah.
And so it's like, just, you know, moving through all of those different things, but first being grateful for the body that it endured all that for you. It's amazing the people then that it's like, oh, my body's not this foreign thing I'm stuck with.
Yeah.
And it's like, if it did this for me, yeah, I can be here to receive this body process, and it starts to shift and change some of that. It's really beautiful to see the change that's created for some people who've been abused. It takes them out of that victim into proactive living again.
Yeah. Oh, what
and
fun.
Enjoying their body.
So what's your mom think about what you're doing now? Like, compared to all the modalities she's done and come across and stuff like that, it's like,
that woman cracks me up.
Yeah.
Well, it's because she died about 5 years ago, or 6 years ago, 5 years ago, something like that. So I had been in Access, for a good 5-6 years at that point. And she had done some classes as well. She had gone through foundation and choice of possibility. She did the very first lies manipulation class with Gary. And she had Gary and Dane on the radio show a lot. As a matter of fact, Dane and my mom were going to do a radio show together for a while. And so she's still to this day will show up every once in a while in a class and just be like,
awesome.
I was so resistant all the time.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, that's
and now
cute.
she's like, oh, so she loved it. She loved it because my whole life she'd been like, you know, you're like us. You know, you're a fringe dweller. You know, you're weird. I'm like, no, I'm not. Just like everybody else. I'm normal.
I'm normal, average,
you're
and
the weird
real.
ones. Yeah. Right. Fighting for my normalcy. And so she was so happy to see me becoming me.
Okay.
And it was really cool. You know, when my mom did die, you know, I was on the phone with Gary and he's like, well, at least your mom got to see you happy. I said, yeah.
Oh,
yeah, she did.
That's so cool. That is so cool.
So, you make me cry again. Anyway, so she's happy as she's still every once in a while. Like I said, she'll show up in class and just go like you're, huh? But and it's such a gift because I'm a big proponent of combining everything. And because I see people who have taken access classes and body classes and start to judge themselves of like, I had to take an aspirin. I couldn't just ask a question and get rid of this headache. I had to ask.
Oh,
I'm
that's
like,
great. I know.
freaking, I'm like, oh my gosh. And it,
Yeah.
you know, and it's such a prevalent point of view that when I first started doing the right body for you, I'm like, Gary, I have to talk to you. He's like, yes. You can smell bullshit already. He was already amused at me. I said, I have to tell you what I'm telling people and see if you still want me facilitating these classes. Like, okay. I'm like, I'm telling people to go to the doctor and just to add question though, and like get diagnosed, but then change it and do whatever. He's like, thank fuck. That's what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Exactly.
okay, good. Yeah, so I'm a big proponent of that. And that's actually one of the gifts that my mom gave me is it's like, I'll never forget. I had this woman come up to me in advanced body class. We're friends and she's been in Access for a long time too. And she's like, this is going on with my body. And what do you get my body needs? And I went, potassium. She's like, okay, yeah. And so it's like, I combine and I encourage others to combine. It's like the amount of nutrition data I know in my head and my universe and my mom's universe that I still extrapolate from. When I'm in a class, it's like the earth has a lot of amazing things for our bodies, and we wouldn't help it to create that ease to be able to receive and ask questions. For what reason?
Exactly.
So I'm a big proponent of combining everything. It's like my body's told me to go to the chiropractor. My body's told me to go to the dentist. My body's told me to take an aspirin. My body's told me to eat brie cheese once to get rid of a headache. Weird.
Right.
But it helps.
Very cool.
It works.
Yeah. Well, consciousness includes everything and judges nothing is what we say. You know, that includes medical doctors. You know what I mean? That includes,
Absolutely.
you know, taking an Advil or an ibuprofen or whatever if you have a headache. And, you know, when I was in chiropractic school, I remember getting strep throat. And yeah, it was because I was partying and all that. And I weakened out my immune system. But I was like getting adjustments and all that. And, you know, started going away. And then what did I do? I went out and partied again and came back with a vengeance. So I went up to this doctor and I'm like, man, you know, he's like, look, and he whispers because he was even afraid. He's like, go to the medical doctor, let them put you on antibiotics, make sure you get some cervical adjustments in your neck. He's like, it's okay to go on antibiotics. And I was like, phew. And like, I thought I was committing a sin or something like that, you know? So, and then, you know, I've been humbled throughout the years, many, many, many times trying to do everything the natural way, the holistic way. And then I'm like, by the time I got to Access, I kind of got over that point of view. You're like, you know what? Listen, you know, it's like, thank God we live in 2019 and we have the medical advancements that we do and all that stuff. And I'm really super, super grateful for it. Am I going to let them put me on medicine all the time? Absolutely not. Right. But will I go to a doctor to get diagnostics and get information? Absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, and it's like, you know, just the other day I had such intense neck pain and all that. I'm like, body, what do you want? Just go get a massage. I'm like, oh yeah. I'll do one treatment. It was totally gone. My body just wanted to be cared for and nurtured for it and rubbed on, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Because it's about adding question to everything. It's not about excluding all of this stuff. It's about adding question to it. Right. And like I always used to say, I still say, if you go to a doctor who doesn't like you asking questions, find a new doctor.
Exactly. Totally.
But yeah, it's just about adding questions. It's like, body, is this true for us? Body, can we change this? Body, you know? And it's like, you know, I'd love to dispel the notion. One of my targets, the right body for you, is I'd love to dispel the notion that it's like, if something's going on in your body, you're doing something wrong. Because it's like, it's so not true. There's a lot of stuff out there in the world. And so it's like, I had a cold once, and I was losing my voice. And the next day I was co-facilitating a telecall with Gary Douglas called Lies of Obesity. And I'm like, I have to have my voice. I can't be sick. Body, what are we going to do? And it's like, and so many people put so much effort into, I have to stop it. I have to, like, you know, make it stop now and do whatever, blah, blah, blah. And so I asked a crazy question. I'm like, okay, body, do you require this right now? And it's like, yeah, there's some bug in here. I want to get rid of this shit. I'm going to raise the temperature or whatever. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's do it faster. If I'm not resisting you going through this, can we have it with ease? Can we have it fast? And I went to sleep, had a miserable about 10 hours, woke up the next morning, fine.
That's
because
awesome.
I didn't resist it. And I was just like, my body was like, nope, I'm burning through something. Let me raise the temperature. And because at that point, it wasn't about stopping it or something that was wrong. It was about working with my body to get rid of it. And it was awesome.
Yeah. It's cool. You actually invited the body to turn it up even more, which
Mhm.
is really, really cool, which is the opposite, right? Because we're always trying to stop the fever. We're always trying to stop the thing from, we want to push it back instead of let it just go through the way
Yep.
it's intended, actually. So
Yeah,
that's
because
really
I
cool. Really
asked
good.
it. I'm like, body, is this required? It was like, yeah. And
Yeah,
I've done, and sometimes I've asked the body, is this required? It's like, nope. I'm like, all right, we're done.
done. Yeah,
Yeah.
sweet. Well, that's cool. I learned a whole lot from you today. And there's a whole different, different things and ways of communicating what it is that we do and the magic of what we do and be to people. So I'm really, really grateful for that. That's super cool.
Oh,
Yeah. Thank
I'm
you.
grateful to be on here. It's fun chatting with you. I've always enjoyed
Yeah.
playing with you.
Yeah, me too. So we'll, at the end of this video or at the bottom of the video, there'll be a link to where you can find out about Donielle and where all the amazing classes she's doing around the world, literally. And there'll be my link too. And come play all the different facilitators out there to
Yes.
facilitate these classes. We, they contribute in their own unique, energetic ways to we're just like different keys that are able
Yes.
to unlock the different locks that you may have that are keeping
Yep.
you from having everything you desire in your life. And so, search out for all of us. We're here because we love doing what we do. And we know, like we function from a knowing that no one can take away from us because we've been
Yeah.
through it. And we're really super grateful for these tools that Gary created and Dr. Dane here, the co-creator of Access. And we just get to play in this magic. So super grateful to have you, be in my life. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Me too. Yeah, it's fun, and and just one more thing for everybody. It's like, you guys, every part of my life changed when I started including my body beyond the physicalness of it. Every aspect.
Yeah.
And it's like, please, please, we created these bodies as amazing tools.
Yeah. Let's have fun.
Let it be the contribution that we've designed it as.
Exactly.
So,
Thank you
yeah.
so much
Thank
for
you,
coming.
Anthony.
All right.
All right. See y'all soon.
Bye.
Bye.